The Young and the Restless spoilers Thurdays full episodes October 3rd, 2024. In the sprawling office of Jabot Cosmetics, the tension between Jack Abbott and his younger brother Billy was palpable. Jack had summoned Billy for a serious conversation, one that he hoped would bring them closer as business partners and brothers, but Billy's demeanor was distant. His mind was clearly elsewhere, perhaps preoccupied with Victoria's complicated situation with Victor Newman. Jack, always the diplomat, tried to keep the conversation focused on what mattered, Jabot and their family legacy. He leaned forward, his tone firm but encouraging. "Billy, we need to work together. There's no future for this company if we're constantly at odds or distracted by personal vendettas. You've got to see the bigger picture. We're stronger together, and you know it." Billy sighed, clearly uninterested. His involvement with Victoria's mess was already weighing heavily on his mind, and Jack's words felt like background noise. "I get what you're saying, Jack, but my priorities are elsewhere right now." But Jack wasn't one to give up easily. He pressed on, laying out his reasoning with precision. "Billy, I know you're caught between Victoria and Victor right now, but think about it. What you and I build together could give you leverage, not just in business, but in life. If you want to help Victoria, you need to secure your own power first. We could be an unstoppable team if you just put your focus where it matters." Billy's resistance wavered slightly. Jack's words were starting to sink in. He knew Jack was right in some ways. His energy had been scattered, torn between Jabot, his feelings for Victoria, and his lingering resentment toward Victor. He also realized that Jack had a point. If he could strengthen his position at Jabot, he could be more than just a pawn in Victor's games. He could help Victoria in ways that mattered. "All right," Billy said, his voice softening. "Maybe you've got a point, but I'm not making any promises." Jack's lips curled into a small smile of satisfaction. He knew he'd managed to shake Billy's indifference. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a start. "We'll take it one step at a time," Jack replied, leaning back in his chair, content that he had at least planted the seed of cooperation in his brother's mind. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Audra Charles had her own strategy in motion. She had grown tired of Kyle's reckless leadership at Glissade and knew that his position as CEO had to be dismantled if the company was to survive under her vision. Audra, always several steps ahead, had already placed a call to her father, Bob. Her request was simple but devastating: cancel all orders with Glissade. If Bob complied, Kyle would be left scrambling, powerless and helpless to keep the company afloat. "Dad, I need you to cancel those contracts," Audra said, her voice calm but firm over the phone. "Glissade's current leadership is incompetent, and this move will make it clear that Kyle isn't capable of running the company." Bob hesitated on the other end. "Are you sure about this, Audra? Pulling the rug out from under them like this, it'll cause chaos." "That's exactly what I want," Audra replied, a sly smile tugging at her lips. "Kyle and Victor think they've got everything under control, but they're living in a delusion. This will expose Kyle for what he really is, unprepared and undeserving of the CEO title. It's time Glissade was led by someone with real talent, and we both know that's me." Bob agreed to her demands, setting in motion a chain of events that would leave Glissade's future hanging in the balance. With the orders canceled, Kyle would be left floundering, unable to meet his deadlines and deliver the products Glissade's clients expected. Victor's faith in Kyle would be shattered, and the company's stability would quickly crumble without Audra's connections and business acumen. As Glissade teetered on the brink of disaster, Victor would soon realize that the success they had enjoyed was not the result of Kyle's leadership, but Audra's behind-the-scenes negotiations and the power of her family's business relationships. The illusion of control that Kyle and Victor clung to would soon be shattered, leaving them scrambling to figure out how it had all gone wrong. Meanwhile, across town, Daniel Romalotti was sitting in a small, dimly lit interrogation room at the Genoa City Police Department. His hands were clenched into fists as the detective asked question after question about Heather's disappearance. "When was the last time you saw Heather?" the detective asked, his voice flat and emotionless. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "A few days ago. We didn't part on bad terms. I had no reason to think she was in any danger." The detective didn't let up. Did she exhibit any strange behavior? Anything unusual that might suggest she was in trouble? Daniel shook his head, but the questions were beginning to gnaw at him. He had been trying to stay calm, but the constant pressure, the insinuations that maybe he had missed something crucial, were starting to break him down. "No, she was fine," Daniel replied, his voice growing more strained. "Everything seemed normal. I don't know what happened to her, and I've told you everything I know." But the detective wasn't finished. He pulled out a photograph from a file and slid it across the table. "The cameras in your house were malfunctioning on the day Heather went missing. Convenient, don't you think? Care to explain that?" Daniel's heart raced. He had no explanation for the cameras being down. It had to be a coincidence, right? But now, sitting in this room, with the detective's accusatory gaze locked on him, it felt like an accusation. "I don't know," Daniel snapped, his frustration boiling over. "Maybe the cameras were faulty? I didn't sabotage anything, and I had no reason to. She was fine." The detective leaned back, watching Daniel's agitation grow. "So you don't know why the cameras weren't working? And you don't know where Heather is now?" Daniel slammed his hands on the table, his voice cracking. "No, I don't. I don't know where she is, or what happened to her, or why the cameras were off. But I need you to find her. I need you to do your damn job and stop grilling me like I had something to do with this." The detective remained calm, unshaken by Daniel's outburst. "We're just trying to piece together the timeline, Daniel. The more you cooperate, the quicker we can find out what happened." Daniel leaned back in his chair, the weight of everything crushing down on him. The police had no answers, and the more they questioned him, the more his own mind tormented him with doubts. Where was Heather? What had really happened to her? And why did everything feel like it was spiraling out of control? In a world where business deals, betrayal, and personal vendettas intertwined, Daniel's agony was but one piece of the puzzle. The collapsing structure of Glissade, Victor's loss of control, and Billy's struggle with his loyalties, all of it pointed toward a reckoning that no one could avoid. As Daniel sat in that interrogation room, grappling with his fury and grief, he knew one thing for certain. He wouldn't rest until he found Heather. No matter how deep the secrets ran, and no matter who stood in his way, he would uncover the truth, even if it destroyed him in the process. As Heather tried to scoot backward on the floor away from her, Sharon began to exhibit signs of passing out. Her vision blurred, and the next thing we knew, Cameron was calling her name to wake her up. When Sharon awoke, she was not on the floor, between the sofa and the table, but on the sofa, lying down. She got up and discovered Heather was dead, still on the other side of the sofa on the floor. Therein lies the huge question mark. What exactly happened when Sharon blacked out? In a nutshell, it strongly suggests the possibility that when Sharon passed out, someone else came in, killed Heather, and moved Sharon to the sofa. The culprit would have then slipped back out, leaving Sharon to believe she had finished off Daniel's live-in love and to deal with the repercussions. But that then begs the question: who on earth would want to harm Heather? We can think of only one person,